back down there! We got lost!
What are you doing? Is that my phone? Yeah, so, anyway, yeah. I'm just gonna, DD now and, DD now. Bye.
What the hell?
What's going on, guys? Reaper here, and welcome to Reaper Declassified. So, back in April or May, I posted some photos to my Instagram and Facebook showing off, well, my Vietnam OH-6 Scout or Loach helicopter, and the amount of messages and comments and everything I got and how many times it was shared was just kind of overwhelming. But a lot of you guys wanted to know how I got the helicopter, the story and the history behind it, and what our overall plan is for it. Oh man, check that out. It's like a full-size model kit. Yeah. So I've owned the helicopter for about 12, maybe 14 years, somewhere in there. I actually bought it from a guy in Virginia. We were living in Nebraska at the time, and essentially his plan originally was to rebuild it into a static display. So we went all the way from Nebraska to Virginia with the trailer, bought the helicopter and picked it up and brought it back. Now, so talking to the guy at the time, from what I can actually remember, is he himself was a pilot in the military. I believe he might have actually been a pilot in Vietnam. If memory serves me correctly, he used to fly F-4 Phantoms. So he had a huge shop that he basically would purchase old military aircrafts and restore them and make static displays and things like that. He actually had, I think, an F-4 Phantom in there at the time that he was working on, and out in his front yard he had a Huey helicopter that had the cav and the swords and everything painted on the front of it. Come to find out via the serial number on that helicopter, I believe it was the 24th Huey that ever came out. Actually, I think I still have photos of it somewhere, but I don't think I can find them to actually put them in this video. They're buried somewhere. But he was selling that as well. I think him and his wife were planning on moving to Arizona, so they were selling all this stuff off because, well, they just didn't want to pay for and, you know, have to try and haul it that all the way across the country to their new home. So that's how I wound up with the helicopter. Anyway, he actually, believe it or not, guys, he was an active airline pilot at the time too. So for anybody thinking and wondering how somebody could have that much money to do all that stuff, well, he lived a pretty good lifestyle and definitely earned it and deserved it. So I thought it was great that he could do all that. But anyway, right, so now the story behind the helicopter. Now, a lot of you guys were wanting to know the history of it, and this is all I've got on the helicopter. All the numbers and everything are gone, but let's just kind of check it out here. So the helicopter is essentially just a shell now. There's not a whole lot left of it. I've got some bits and pieces that he actually gave me. So pretty much everything you see here is what he gave to go along with the helicopter. So you can see that it has pretty much been stripped. And a lot of these pieces weren't original to the helicopter. He sourced them himself, and this is everything that pretty much came with it. There's actually a few pieces missing. So before I get into the actual story of its history and how it supposedly came back from Vietnam, I'll just explain this real quick. So I'm missing a skid, and I'm actually missing one of my doors. Now, when we lived in Nebraska, okay, unfortunately, we were working out of state in, I think, West Virginia, maybe. And we were actually renting the house and the property that all this stuff was on. So while we were on the road working, one of the co-owners decided that they actually, well, wanted us to move out and off the property because they wanted to go back through the house and, I guess, live in it again. I'm not entirely sure. So this was roughly, every bit of 9 years ago. So we had to move back and load everything up that we owned in that house into a storage unit, and everything that wouldn't fit or that we didn't have time to put in the storage unit wound up going in a more modernized GP medium tent that was already set up out there on the property. Well, the helicopter was one of them. There was also several other things in there and whatnot, but nobody had been out there checking on or, really keeping track of what was going on out there. So a lot of people coming in and out had wandered in there, and a lot of things, well, just came up missing, stolen. So a few of those things, one of those, or a couple of those, would have been, I think, maybe 1 or 2 skids. If I remember right, I had a set of 2, so I should have had 4. So now I've only got 1. Now, the gauge cluster, dash panel, I'm not really sure what the actual designation was for them in helicopters. I had one of those, but it was post-war. It was for, I think, actually a Little Bird helicopter. That came up missing. So I've actually got bits and pieces of the collective, the pedals, some gauges, and parts of seats and stuff like that left. But that's pretty much it. Now, a buddy of mine in Bellevue, Nebraska, owned the surplus store there. And in the back of his surplus store, he had a really nice museum set up from pretty much every war, I think, that America had fought in. One of those was Vietnam. So I actually wound up giving him one of my skids and the doors to put up on display in there, which he still has. He has since closed the store down. I had talked to him, or I guess Father Time had talked to him, right before we went back to get this. And during the loading and everything of it, we were originally going to try and meet up, and well, he was going to bring them back. So he still has them. It just, things didn't work out. He was pretty busy, family things, and we weren't able to meet up before we got everything loaded up and headed out. So I'll be able to get those 2 things back, which is good because, well, tracking them down is kind of a pain, and the cost of them is very painful. So yeah, that's just another trip back to Nebraska to get that. So let's talk about this real quick. So the story the guy gave me when we got the helicopter was that the pilot who flew it in Vietnam, I guess, had, I'd like to say crashed it, but I'm not entirely sure if that's really what happened or not. There's some repairs on this helicopter that are supposed to be repaired bullet holes. I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not, but they may actually be. Some of you out there that know more about military aircraft and just aircraft in general, or if you flew these or were a part of the crews that worked on them, you guys could tell me more than anyone. So, okay, so he crashed it, and he was supposed to be de-rosing back to the world fairly soon, and somehow or another, supposedly, again, this is just the story I got, guys, so may not be true. He basically, from my understanding, bought the helicopter and put it on a ship back to the States, had it brought back home, and when he got back to port and everything, a higher up had found out that he had done this, and the guy pretty much called him into the office and gave him a big ration of shit over it and told him, no, there's no way, you can't keep the helicopter, it's just not happening, dude. So what wound up happening was the guy had it taken and put in a graveyard. And somewhere during that time, essentially how you see the helicopter now is, well, what happened to it? It was wound up being completely stripped. The data plate is gone, which, again, this is another theory too, is that the reason the data plate came up missing was because the pilot went in and stole it to keep it as a memento since he could not keep the helicopter. That's the story behind it. Again, I don't know if it's true. I can't find any numbers on this thing, with the exception of one area, which I think was the numbers that were inked or stamped on it when it was manufactured. So right in here, right behind where the seat would have been, you can see some of these numbers here, which are a little hard to see now. Actually, when I found them, I wrote them down. I came out here with some little sanding blocks and water and lightly sanded them by hand and got them to come out. And I think I got the full numbers, which I took photos of as I did it, and of course wrote them down. Now, the plan. Okay, so this is what we're planning on doing with this OH-6, guys. So after several discussions and talks and kicking around ideas back and forth with Father Time and veterans and just other people as well, this is what we're going to do to this OH-6, okay? We're going to go ahead and rebuild it, but we're going to rebuild it as a static display. I know what some of you guys are thinking. I know what you're sitting there just kind of mumbling under the breath about is, damn, oh, come on, man. Build it so it flies again. Build it so it flies again. I know. I want to. I wish I could, but here's the deal, guys. I don't have that kind of money, and I don't ever really foresee myself having that kind of money to, well, rebuild a helicopter, especially one that's essentially a veteran. But this is the whole idea on this, guys, and I think you're gonna like it. So when I say a static display, it's not just going to be built and sit out here where nobody can see it. We're gonna build it as a traveling static display. That is our whole plan for this. So what I mean by that is we're gonna rebuild it to the point where it actually looks like, visually, externally, you know, looking at it, that it would actually be able to fly like it was brand new and just shipped to Vietnam, with the exception that I'm going to keep, you know, various little things. I'm going to try and keep as much of this body original as possible without replacing things that I don't have to, and since it's not going to fly, I can do that. So with that gives me the opportunity to be able to travel with this thing and take it to events like reenactments, put it in parades, take it to shows, and, you know, maybe possible film use or green screen, blue screen, stuff like that. And taking it again to certain shows that gives, say, veterans or kids alike the ability to sit in the thing, get photos, reminisce, and just have an overall good, awesome experience. And I think that would just be a great thing to do with this, you know, and it adds a lot more effect to, say, a reenactment by having an actual Vietnam helicopter maybe sitting somewhere close by or in base or something, just to kind of give you that. But then also maybe use it for a scenario such as down pilot, helicopter, and pilot and crew chief rescue, something like that. So lots of big plans for this. So the other thing that I really want to do when we actually get to that stage is I was thinking something along the lines of setting up an electronic or battery system in this helicopter. So flipping some switches and stuff like that, all the lights that would have been it can come on, gauge and dash lights, and maybe even hook up a speaker system in it. So with the flip of some switches here and there, you could have possibly the sound of the wind-up, start-up of the helicopter, the engine, and even shut down and all that. So I think that would be a really, really awesome thing to add to the effect of that. So the other thing that I want to discuss with this, okay? I have had, through messages, emails, comments, since I posted the photos of bringing this thing back home, suggestions and mentions and essentially a lot of people that wanted to or would or wants to donate to see this thing get a new life. And with some discussions from a few other people and some people that have built or rebuilt things like this, whether it be static or actually flying again, have done the same thing. So that is actually a big possibility in the future, to go ahead and start up some kind of a deal for donations on this. And I was thinking, if we did that, what we could do, especially with parts and other things, obviously you guys can see what condition this thing is in. It's seen better days. So I was thinking some of the parts we take out that we don't need or that are just so trashed, we could use that as a gift to some of these people, or X amount of people or whatever, who donate so much, and give them kind of a memento from the build. And I think that would be a really awesome idea too. Now that also means, guys, that we're going to wind up needing a whole bunch of parts. Now there's going to be a lot of stuff on this helicopter that we're going to probably wind up having to fabricate ourselves and put back together. But if you know anywhere I could find parts for this thing, or have any, please don't hesitate to reach out. Hit me up on my Instagram, link in the description below. Shoot me a message or an email. Let me know what you got and what you're thinking, because we're absolutely going to need tons of parts for this thing, as you can see. And also, if you yourself ever flew one or worked on one in country and have the knowledge and the know-how on how to rebuild this thing, again, I would love to talk to you guys. It would mean the world to me, especially getting to find out and know. And if you happen to live somewhere close and would like to come help work on this, especially, like I said, if you flew one or got to work on them when you were in, I would love to have you guys come out. That would be awesome. I decided to go ahead and post this to my vlog channel, mainly because it's, you know, well, behind the scenes and more of a vlog style video than it is an actual build video. So if this interests you, you want to see more on this helicopter, you want to know more, you want to follow and see what we're doing with this thing and how it progresses, do yourself a favor. If you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Pound the hell out of the like button. And make sure you ring the notification bell so you will be alerted anytime or notified anytime that we post new content, especially on something like this. Now, I do want to mention this one thing. When we actually start doing the build videos, I will be posting them over on my business channel, which is actually my second channel. Reaper's Papasan Supply, which is all about Vietnam War, and what I do with my business, which is, again, all about the Vietnam War. So all the build videos will essentially wind up going there. So if you're not subscribed, I highly recommend checking it out. Link in the description below to that channel as well. Remember, guys, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell over there as well to keep posted and updated on the future build of this OH-6. Now, that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and remember, stay frosty, ride or die, Reaper out.